Hi, I'm Frederick Wemyss. Sometimes I go by Fred Wemyss, sometimes by Frederick Chambliss Wemyss, but today I'm calling myself Frederick Wemyss. All those names are real. Anyway, in 1987, when I was a strapping 27, I wrote a thing called Letters of Charles Satterthwaite Penwright, all from famous authors, first edition, Duncan DeLoop, editor, foreword to the first edition, afterword to the first edition, and footnotes to it by Charles Satterthwaite Penwright by Fred Wemyss. So, premise was, this guy had some weird technology and he sent his manuscript to a whole bunch of dead authors. Various ones reply. And here's one of them. 18 Rue d'Expatriate, Isles in the Stream, January 10th, 1987. Dear Satterthwaite, your middle name. You're all Satterthwaite, I can tell, because you write like one. Listen to Conrad. Listen to Joyce. Don't listen to Smellville. They're just right by accident. Your stuff stinks. So did mine before I wrote my 41st piece. I burned the stuff I did before it. There's a way not to get burned at your bonfire. Stop writing. Find work. Ernest Hemingway. My name's not Papa. Not to you. And here's another one that I'm sort of happy with. 88 Roundabout Road, Circles Within Circles, January 10th, 1987. Dear Mr. Charles Penwright, may I convey my hope that my translator, that good Anglo-Saxon woman, will convey in her turn my meaning, as I trust she will? I had been more than exceptionally busy answering, having finished reading them, the letters which lay in a pile upon my desk when, ultimately, I arrived at yours, which, by mischance, I had left unread at the bottom of that pile. Can I hope to tell you what it is to hold the pages graced by the graphite from your pencil? Can I impress upon you what it was like to read those grace notes of language? Well, just as Mephistopheles described hell to Faustus, I'll attempt to give you a sense of what I went through. Prepare yourself to be prepared. I refer not merely to the faded quality of the graphite when I say that what you write is substantially light. And just as your pencil's particles sparkle with, at best, a dull luster, so do the words shaped in its trail as it travels across the page. Your writing is lightweight and dimly lit, as paradoxical as that may seem to you to be. But I do make appeal to you that you not be overwhelmed by these truths I so crudely utter. Life is made of such paradoxes as that one to which I have made reference at the end of the above paragraph. Should we not call it life ironic? You, perhaps, should, in your secret heart, think of life as so. For such a revelation of reflection might show, if abashedly, in your sentences. I imagine, as I imagine one must, simply put, imagine, that you dislike me for saying what I have in so many words said. Please forgive once more my necessary crudeness. And please, once more again, forgive me, as I have neglected to put at the beginning of this letter, as would be customary, this question to my addressee. How are you? Perhaps there is something of poetic justice in my being made by the forces of nature to look bad when I put such a question, such a formality of courtesy, at the end of this epistle. It is just that, Penwright. I was in an enthusiastic rush to express my, and I find myself obliged to use the word, though to you it must be of but slight significance, contempt. I am, as ever, Thomas Mann. And I will read you one more here. I've got to find it. Where is it? 84 Bleakest Street, Room 101, Close to Despair, January 10th, 1987. Dear Mr. Penwright, I have your smelly little manuscript. If you don't understand my use of the adjectival phrase, smelly little, well, just read what I below quote you as saying, and I think you'll see what I mean. In your covering letter, somewhere, I know just where, between the patches of middle-class small talk, you say, I recently drove through New Jersey, so smelly it is, and little enough in this context. The passages about the turnpike make one uncomfortable, and this would be good if it were intellectual, but you seem to like what hovers over you and seeps into the car from the refineries. You avoid any mention of the monstrousness of it, indicating, however subliminally, your tacit approval. I may seem cruel saying these things, but they would be said, at least in his heart, by any common reader. And by common I mean to mean someone sensible, one with common sense, actually. On reflection, I'll say you are a product of your generation, the conformists too young to remember or to have experienced the '74 gas crunch in any real sense. The privation was felt internationally. But in what, if any, respect could you describe it? Of course, the answer is you can't. Like the rest of your age group, you escaped your country's, and I admit your country was wrong, intervention in Vietnam by being born too late. I wouldn't find this objectionable if it weren't for your covered flag waving. For all your smugness about that action, I venture to guess that you'd have dodged it if you'd been old enough for conscription, or that, more realistically, you'd have tried for a communications post. And as you read this, you're thinking the same thing, aren't you? Confess. You know I read minds, not just books. I wasn't a Burma cop for nothing. Confess, unless, of course, you're not an honest enough, and none of you are, neocon to realize that you have to force yourself to defend your country hypocritically, or, that is, through words only, if you want to remain in your bloodless, sweatless, smelly little monolith of a Republican Party. How do I know you're a member? Because you stuck the postage stamp on the envelope in such a way that the sides of the envelope are perfectly parallel with the sides of the stamp. That takes a certain kind of effort, and the stamp's right side up. I have an idea. Next time you get the urge to send me something, why not skip me and do it to Julia, Room 101, Ministry of Fear, London, Oceania. Oh yes, I almost forgot. I describe you as smelly little because your so-called and unbeautiful American language, actually a high mercantile dialect of English, has infected English enough to allow the abuse of smell to pass undetected. A maître d'hôtel for whom I once slaved, would you do the same, used to say, "You should always call Americans Emerlots." He said this gets your backs up, but I doubt it, seeing the sort of linguistic wherewithal you people have. George Orwell. P.S. Much of this is just my opinion, of course. Yours may be different. The above letter goes against what I said in the last set of brackets, in that it is not brief and hostile, but very long and very hostile. D.D. Anyway, see you.